We have Andrew, the CEO of Tutorfair, and I'll let you do the full introduction. Would you talk about the lessons that you've learned building your marketplace?
That's exactly it. First of all, can I say thank you to Matt for organising this. I think it's a great idea to have a meeting with marketplaces. I was at a meeting recently when Reed Hastings said that 99% of marketplaces end up as smoking craters. So I am sure that we'll all have lots of problems to share. My name's Andrew Ground, and my background is marketing. So I started out in Procter & Gamble, and then 7 years at Sainsbury's, a spot at Home Serve, and then most recently with Love Film. And I'm now setting up Tutorfair, which is a marketplace for tutors. And I really got into it when we just sold Love Film to Amazon, and my wife sent me out to find a tutor for my son. And his school basically wouldn't prepare him for an exam to get into my school. And I thought, well, it's really unfair to send a 7-year-old into an exam with 300 other kids who've been prepared for it, with no preparation at all. So you might believe your genes are good, but are they that good? And amazingly, it's actually quite hard to find people who will do this. There's no real services which offer that data. And at Love Film, we had a tech team of 50 people. And one of my special projects had been to work on how we helped users to find a film to watch on a Friday evening. So we built these lovely tools to filter, so you could filter for a thriller that was made in the 1970s that had Robert De Niro in. And that would, make your Friday evening, 1% better. And I thought, well, what does it really say about the modern age that we've got all this effort being put into 1% more gratification on a Friday, and so little put into helping our kids with what they need to learn. And it seemed to me that my need basically was information. I wanted to know who taught for this exam before and who had success with other kids. And just a few hours so that he would know what he was doing. And it was one the web should be perfect to solve. And I cared about it an awful lot more than I cared about what my film was on a Friday night. So it seemed to me that really the world needed a marketplace for tutors. And of course, you then do a little bit of Googling, and you find, well, actually, of course, there are such things in other places. So the Americans and the Germans have already got it going. So I basically wrote myself a deck about, this is what we should do, and we should have a marketplace for these tutors. And I quickly discovered that there's the global marketplace for tutoring is $100 billion, which is the same as the global marketplace for taxis and for spare rooms and Airbnb and Uber. Think that's enough market to really build something quite big. And I did a few wireframes, which I'm a marketing man, so it was just a bit of PowerPoint, and they were very ugly. In fact, Ramsey picked up some of the projects afterwards and made them look better. But people said, well, yeah, that looks doable. Yeah, of course, that should be right. And I found lots of people who would come and wanted to build it with me. And we came up with this idea of 1-for-1, that for every person who pays, we would give tutoring to a child who can't afford it. And we thought, well, this is really what tutoring needs, because the big argument against tutoring in this country is, well, it's just unfair that people pay their way. And so we thought, well, if you do the 1-for-1, then you create opportunities for the tutors to meet together, to have a social purpose, to create a community around it, and you also diffuse the stigma of the industry. And we thought that's a big idea that will make a big brand in the market. But of course, we'd read the Lean Startup book, so we knew that what we had to do was build a minimum viable product. So we set out to build a minimum viable product, and we found a company which had been previously used by Patrick, my CTO, and they looked at it and they said, oh, they could build it in 12 weeks, no problem, there's nothing cutting edge here, it's all things that we've seen before, no problem at all. And they agreed to have half their pay in equity, and we thought, oh, that's marvellous. And they did beautiful design. They took my ugly, ugly wireframes, they turned them into beautiful designs, and I really looked at that a few weeks in and I thought, oh, that is just marvellous. It's easy, this entrepreneur life, isn't it? And then came the pain. Every meeting that I had with them after that was about how do we take out features and simplify. And I was like, oh, well, that's not really what the customer wants, is it? Oh, it's easy to build it this way. Okay, it's MVP only, and every release was then followed by the fact that it broke everything else and release of bugs. And at this time, we were working in my attic. So it's about 4 years ago, so I haven't given you much background. We were working in my attic, and the kids used to come home from school, and they would come and say, Daddy, how many bugs are there today? And the answer was always about 200, and it never went down. And then we had to, it was a real terrible thing to have 200 bugs that you're trying to manage and fix, and it was totally demotivating. And it took us 46 weeks to build a slow, buggy travesty of the vision that we set out and the beautiful visuals that they created for me. It was built using Drupal. The search took about 15 seconds, and it only used one factor to rank people, which was distance. The payment was all via PayPal. You had to leave the site for 2 screens and go back on it. And you could only buy 1 lesson at a time. But it was possible to search, message, and book a tutor. And so we launched this thing saying to ourselves, well, if you're not embarrassed by your initial product, then you've launched too late, haven't you? And this is what we should do. So we did. And in January 2013, we launched this MVP and minimum viable product, and we discovered that it was not remotely viable. And in the meantime, we had actually signed up lots of tutors, because during this period when, there's a big difference between 12 and 46 weeks, we kept thinking, oh, the website will be ready next week. So we had all these meetings with tutors, and we met them all. And Mark, one of my co-founders, is a fantastically successful tutor, and he introduced us to all his friends. We recruited all these tutors with pictures on a piece of paper of what the website was going to look like. And we set up projects for them to volunteer in all the local schools, and they thought it was a fantastic idea, and they got on with each other. And then, of course, my friends had all started to call up and say, oh, actually, look, I really need a tutor for this. And so we had a business, and so we didn't have a website, so we sent out invoices. And we had a little business going there, and we had a community and a brand, a website. 80% of our business was offline. Now, at one level, the product had failed. But we all felt that we had failed to build what we set out to, rather than that we had demonstrated that the idea was rubbish. And that to do it properly, we would have to hire our own developer and really commit to the project. And it was about that time that the SEIS scheme first came out. So we used that SEIS scheme to raise 150,000, and we took on a full-time developer to take it forward. And even one developer full-time on it, we found that we could speed up the site, we could fix the bugs, and we pretty soon got quite confident in adding in features and feeling quite good about it all. So I was asked about learning, so I kind of reflect periodically, well, what do you learn out of that? And I think the thing that I learned out of that is, don't try and build a marketplace with an outsourcer. I think you've got to have a team that is there to see it through, and it's just too hard to say, well, what's the MVP and the natural dynamic of it. It just doesn't work. And I look back and I struggle to really see that was a waste of most of a year. Although, of course, we had built up something in that time. And the other thing is that there can be a huge opportunity, but your product can be worse than the alternatives. And it's possible to spend a fantastic amount of effort building something which is literally worse than nothing. But looking on the bright side, and one of my favourite sayings is that if a thing is worth doing, it's worth doing badly. Because our minimum unviable product may have been terrible, but it really taught us a lot. One of the very few people who was able to use it was a lady called Stephanie. And she rang us up and said, oh, I love what you guys are doing. It's exactly what we need, what parents in London need. And I really want to help you. And she invited all her friends to come to a coffee shop and discuss it with us and tell us how we should fix it up. So we set up a test tutor for the accordion, actually. There's an accordion. We thought this was such an obscure subject, no one would do it. So we said we did for real, on our real life website, we created an accordion tutor and we placed them in John O'Groats. And then we told the tutors that they must come and buy their accordion tutor in John O'Groats. And we gave them some money and said, please buy it for that. And the feedback from that session was absolutely brutal. Not in the way of being rude, because mummies in West London are quite civilised, really. But it was just absolutely clear that our product was functionally correct, but just did not work. And I'll just give you one example, but happy to talk about others afterwards. We had this big search box in the centre of the page. We thought, it's cool, it's like Google, you know, just put in, I want to learn maths in SW6, and what can possibly go wrong? And what happened was, as you started to type maths, we had an also suggest, which would then say, oh, well, we've got maths GCSE, maths A-level, and you're supposed to click one of them. And it turned out that this failed for 80% of users. So what happened was that some people just put in nothing, because they thought, you know, I'll just push the button and see what happens. And some people typed really quickly, so they typed mathematics. And we had our thing labelled maths, so that it didn't come up, the auto-suggest. And then some people typed really slowly, and then they looked down at their fingers to see what they were doing, so they didn't see the fact that there was a suggestion there at all. And then finally, some people just thought, oh, sodgy, I don't want to put in a search. I'm special. I just want to have a look around and see what there is. And so they try and sort of poke around and see all the other pages and not do what you kind of tried to force them to do. And so basically everyone ended up stuck with this red arrow saying, please enter a valid subject. And then they got stuck and they couldn't read anything else with it. Now when I've been testing the website, I went in and I stuck in maths in SW6 and it produced lots of people. So it appeared to me that it worked. But when you sat with the users, it was quite clear that it didn't work, because they all ended up with it being stuck. And there was a series of learnings out of that, but that's just one example. And we used that to rebuild the 3 key pages of the site. And when those went live, the results were absolutely transformational. So the online business immediately shot up and grew quickly to be 4 times the offline business. And we had a stream of new customers who just came along and could look after themselves, and 90% of them didn't even talk to us. And we had reasonable customer economics, so they cost less to acquire them than they were worth. And so we concluded that that was actually more or less a viable product. And so what to learn from that? Well, the key thing to learn from that is that you need to test it with real users and see what they actually do. And your functional testing is not enough. Does it actually work? Does the customer achieve their purpose on the page? And the second thing is really that every time you give people a choice, they will actually exercise it. So you have to design the choices so that they work for you. And our sort of key thought to ourselves when we were redesigning it was, well, never tell them that what they've put in is wrong. Try and do something with what they've given you. So if they put in nothing, take them to everybody, or take them to a choice of what the top 10 might be. And yeah, so that's the thing, is if you give people a choice, then they'll take it. And that's the thing that David Cameron really also thought about, isn't it? Anyway, one positive result of getting these things to work was enough to outweigh all the negatives and all the time that we spent getting there. Because we kind of felt, well, we've got a thing that really works. And now all we've got to do is make it big. So we then entered a period of continually improving the product and building the tutor base. We raised a bit more money. We sort of concluded that growth seemed to be basically proportional to the number of tutors. And I think a lot of people say this, the marketplace is all about supply. And supply. So then we thought, right, well, if we want to get really big, we've got to have a real lot of supply. So in 2015, we set ourselves an outrageous, hairy goal to get to 10,000 tutors across the country. And it was a really big challenge, and there were 3 interlocking components to doing it. First of all, we had to be able to sign up and validate tutors without meeting them. Because we've been signing up and meeting and coaching people every week since before we had a website. And we've only got a few hundred of them that are live at any one time out of that process. So to get big, we would have to have a completely online process, and that meant that we had to be able to verify their phone, their email, and their identity, their passport. Second of all, we had to be able to advertise and mass promote it, so we had to be able to get lots of people on. But we found that there were plenty of sites where you could do that, and there were lots of people who'd like to do it, and we tested them for scale and quality, so that was an optimising job. And thirdly, we had to get to critical mass in an area straight away. So there's no, if you go on with 3 people, it doesn't look like you've got a choice. So you've got to get straight away to that. And we wanted that the tutors would not get fed up. So what we found is that if we went to universities, we could get an awful lot of people who were potential tutors in a room together, and they basically would mob us. It's like absolutely perfect to earn money being a tutor while you're at university. We were initially sceptical. We thought, well, maybe they won't really do the work and they won't be useful. And then we tested it with a couple of London universities, and we found actually tutors from university would sell as well as average, which I think may have been a wrong conclusion, but that was the one. And so we thought, well, those three things were quite good. We're going to go to university, we're going to immediately get lots of people, we're going to have mass scale, and it's going to go. And we thought that was a pretty cool plan. And the immediate results exceeded our wildest dreams. So we signed up 38,000 tutors, and this time a year ago we were absolutely over the moon. But as good as the number of tutors were, the number of sales were equally bad. And what we found was that the growth plummeted. We completely outbalanced the marketplace. And so we had a terrible time. We ran out of cash, we had to let people go. Our tutors said they felt they'd been crowded out on the site. And customers said the tutors were not as good because we had loads and loads of people we didn't really know very much about. We've had to regroup, and we've had to work out, well, how do we get back to that quality that we had when it was Mark's friends, and they were all good, and they knew what they were doing, and they knew exactly, and the experience was a bit guided. And we're working now hard on creating that experience so that it just holds your hand a little bit more. Work on our onboarding and our ranking and choosing and explaining everything to people at each stage. And we're 100% focused on that now to make it really as good as it can be. And I just wanted to expatiate for a little bit on constantly setting improvement targets for everything. So that's everything that's measured, we could set a goal for this and see how much we can do, and then measure it and see how much. And everything that can be measured can be done better. And I just talked a little bit about how we run the charity, which will illustrate the experience. So we found that it was really, we could get tutors to go into schools, and schools were really keen to have tutors come and volunteer. But of course, as soon as you set up placements, then you suddenly find, well, actually, you need to have a little bit of training and onboarding for people first, if you get feedback on those placements. And then we started organising training for tutors. We've done 10 rounds of training now, and trained nearly 1,000 tutors, and every time we do training we get feedback on how was it, and we've got it up now so that 92% of people coming out say that it's a marvellous training day and they feel like they've really learned something. And then after the placement you've got to say, well, did that really work, and how did it work with the school, and we've got it now so that 96% of people coming out of their volunteering say, oh, that's a marvellous thing that I'd really recommend to my friends. And then you've got to make it so the schools all want to say, yes, that's what I want to do as well. And so we measure that, get feedback from them, and work out, well, how can you make it so that it needs less time from the teachers to set it up, and it's easier and quicker to do. And the foundation stats are always on our website. So they've trained 675 volunteers, they've helped 5,562 kids in 14 schools, and it's always remorseless feedback of every single experience, and targets to be better at each batch to be better than the last one. And the charity inspires our team, and it inspires our tutors, but our team inspires the charity too. I don't think there's many charities that work in that kind of incremental, it's quite an unusual way for a charity sector really to work, and to measure everything and have performance goals and quarterly goals and targets for everything. And so, well, what does all that mean? My sort of short synopsis of all of that is, I love the idea of a lean startup, but I think you have got to start with a team that can reasonably drive the idea forward. You can't be completely lean. And I think it's not working until you can measure it working for real users. It's a great mistake to think that it's working when it does what you asked for it to do. Don't try and be big before you're good. That's a fantastic conclusion. And whatever you can measure, you can do better. So I hope that gives you some idea of the challenge, stimulation and fun of trying to set up a marketplace for tutors. Reed Hastings, who said that it was all going to end in a smoking crater, also said that marketplaces are super hard, but super valuable. And I have to say that I come into work every day thinking, well, that's a fantastic opportunity that everyone at school must have missed something, and surely if they had someone who could explain it to them, education could be miles better. And that's a very exciting thing to think of it.
We have time for questions, so I'll pass the mic around and you can go ahead.
Hi, Sparky.
Yes, thank you.
What's your website called? Sparky?
It's sparkyautomotive.co.uk.
Sparky Automotive.
No, very good. My question to you is this. You obviously put a lot of, I mean, congratulations on the progress that you made. You obviously put a great deal of blood, sweat and tears into coding up the website and doing the matching and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were lucky to come out the other end in one piece, as it were.
Yeah.
Now, but my question is, did you not think of simply implementing a package solution for that? Because there are dating packages all over the place, matching packages, which would have done, 80% of the functionality you were looking for without you having to actually code it yourself.
Well, we did start with Drupal. It's not quite a matching package, is it? But it was supposed to be all the modules for everything were already there. What we actually found was that the pre-coded versions couldn't really do what you wanted, and this was that was the whole problem really with it, was that you'll think that it will be the same, but actually when you come down to it, there's fiddly different requirements of thousands of subjects and different locations and so on.
Okay, we didn't try it that way.
We did try. We really lost blood on that point. And then we had to come out of it and build it all bespoke. But we found it much easier actually to push forward.
Hi, thank you for your talk. I have a question. Like when you mentioned about don't outsource your technical development, but try to build a team. I agree with it because I'm starting for a month now, and I find it quite difficult to find the right developers to work with, because when you do the due diligence on them, especially on freelance, especially me, I'm still self-funding the business. I don't have a high budget, and most people you come across are not, up to the standard, I would say. So, but nowadays when you look at external funding, most VC or even seed investor or angel investor, they would like to see the traction of the business. So what's your advice on it? If you do not have a function site that you can show investor that, okay, there are sufficient interest by user, because there's lots of marketplace out there. So I think investors really hesitate to just invest in a mock-up.
Well, I felt I was going a bit too. If I was going to ask a question to the group, it would be that I'd like some help on what can I say to investors to prove that I need the next million, that was what we found. But I think the thing that we did was we were very brutal about what was needed to prove the concept, so that we made the smallest possible investment. And I think there is you can't go too far on that, but you can go amazingly far at creating something which proves the concept, get a few people using it, and see what they're worth. Because the investor doesn't need to see that you're making money in total. The investor needs to see that you make money on each customer, and then they will believe that if you get enough customers, that will then work out. I think if you could show traction without necessarily getting there, and you can create something it's possible to create something that works for a lot of users with a lot less than everything that one would like to build on thing.
So you're still glad that you make the website using Drupal?
But we would never do Drupal again. It was an error, because our whole first product was not good.
Thank you.
Hi, so you said that you rocketed up to 38,000 suppliers, which is fantastic, and you talked about this imbalance of supply and demand, and that's something that I'd love to talk to you about in more detail, because that's exactly what we're facing at the moment. But the question generally is, what are you doing to address the problem of suppliers who haven't received any bookings through the platform? Like, how are you delivering value to them if not actual paying customers?
Not a lot at the moment. Yeah, but they get a profile. We let them publish resources. There will be lots of things that one could do. They can volunteer and get training. They can come. They can be. Which actually, quite a few people have had jobs and career changes out of involvement with Tutorfair, but most of them have done that via getting paid work. But yes, not enough is the answer. But that's the answer to. Sorry, I can't remember your name. Louis' question, which is that we haven't done everything we'd like to do yet. But I think there was a lovely comparison between marketplaces and SaaS, because quite often there's a tendency to say, oh well, let me do some software as a service, and we'll charge people on the side of it. And what they say is that lots of people have a caught between that transition, and what they say is that the market, if you can get the marketplace to work, it'll always beat the SaaS option because it'll be bigger, and customers is really what they want in the end. But if you start out, if you get successful on SaaS, you'll never get the marketplace to work because there'll always be so many opportunities more to do the SaaS. There'll always seem to be a bigger winner, and you'll just go on doing that. So we have so far stuck on the marketplace with a view that that's the bigger idea. But that may be wrong. There's other people doing software as a service for tutors.
Hi, so I have a rental marketplace website, and so we just launched and we're trying to attract landlords and tenants. So you have a marketing background, so what basically just want to ask like what worked best for you when you first started, and then what worked best along the way for the last few years in terms of marketing.
So what works for us in marketing is SEO, obviously, and getting get people to just turn up and search for you. They've got very high intent, and then we do search marketing. And that helps to guide SEO efforts. We let the tutors refer each other, and it's a big word of mouth market, and so we have an incentivized referral scheme. And then we do quite a lot of PR, and we try and build the story of Tutorfair is going to make tutoring fair by offering tutoring to people who can't afford it as well. So those are our 4 key channels. And partnerships as well, so we try and work with other websites to introduce them and we'll pay them a fee for whoever comes.
So, as you suggested, the quality of tutors is very important to function of your site. How did you sort of streamline that process, and how did you end up with a process that worked efficiently to get best people onto your site?
So there's 2 answers to that. The first one is the different ways that you get them have different inherent probabilities of success. So a friend of Mark's who's a tutor already has got a very high probability of success, so we can afford to spend lots of time hand-holding them. A random person off the internet who finds us, which we haven't had to promote, surprisingly good. People who've sought you out and said they want to do it, good. And then you get into, the more you pay, the less you get. And different ways of promotion have less things. And then you've got to say, well, then I've got to accumulate my data. And so we keep trying to accumulate our data. We try and take a positive view. We give everyone, lots of marketplaces will have a difficulty getting started. So, that it's impossible to get your first lesson. So we give everyone quite a chunky first new starter bonus. And then we spend our time looking for evidence that they're good and building on evidence. But equally, as we do that, they will sometimes give us evidence that they're bad. So they'll give us evidence that they're going to disintermediate, they don't answer, they take a long time, they're rude or short, their answers are too short. And so as they go along, all the things that they do, they give us evidence. If they don't write very much on their profile, if the photo is rubbish, so there'll be a whole series of little data points which help you to conclude that this person's not very good. or this person is good, and so that's what we do. We're using about 42 different pieces of data now to conclude whether you're good or not, and then that gets all mushed up into a big algorithm. Yeah.
Hi there. So, how do you combat off-market collusion? So, for example, if like I've had a couple of friends who tutored in the past,
Yeah.
they would the parents would find them, and it's like they're all happy, all as well. It's like, why do we need to go back now? We've got our person for the next.
That's a brilliant question, and I have to say we spent so much time on it. So, how much time have we got, Matt? Yeah.
I think that will have to be the last question.
Okay,
so
right. Well, the short answer is that one of the major things in the ranking algorithm is, do you get lots of repeat business? Because in the end, that is the sign. You cannot learn GCSE maths in an hour. So anyone who has a GCSE maths lesson for an hour basically failed, and the customer didn't like them. And so we're pretty hard on single lesson assignments, and if your average lessons are short, we're pretty hard on it. But then the problem with that is that then means that you might have to give away a large amount of customers to find out who the roles are. So there's a big premium for me knowing who's bad first. And luckily, there are lots of different ways that they show they're bad before. So they have to have a nice little conversation with the tutor beforehand. So we have a little bot that reads that and goes, oh, well, now that looks like that's a slightly dodgy message, so we'll read it. And then we might ask them to correct it if it's very dodgy, and if it's not very dodgy, we'll just read it and have a look. And then we'll see whether we should take some remedial action with them and suspend them, and we've got quizzes for them to help to explain to them how it works and why it's in their long-term benefit to do it. So it's about explaining it, spotting it when it happens at the earliest possible time, with the least possible accusation, and I don't think we've got it right at all. Because we're watching thousands of these, so you can see when they're veering off. Spot it early, remind them, give them a chance to correct. If they weren't correct, sideline.
So is this things like encrypting, like for example, if they share addresses?
We block that out, but then they share their addresses in Chinese, and and that's quite hard to spot. But yeah. So that's why it's an AI machine that spots what's likely to be contact details, rather than just has it got an at in it, and is it a 15-digit number or whatever? So that was our very first attempt, was that, and now it's a bit more looking at. We think it's sharing details, we think it's arranging a session offline. But then, of course, once they've met each other, and then it's all down to do they keep buying or not. If you've got 3 bookings, if you've got a few clients and your average is 2 or 3 lessons, then you're toast, basically. You're going to be behind all the newbies coming in, and the volume of newbies coming in is sufficient for actually. And so then you've got to think, well, how do you stop them signing up again? That's the next wave of that one. But anyway, sorry, that's probably enough, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, thank you, Andrew.
Shut up.